I've got a couple of studio lights that came from a studio clearance, and I've got them on a simple Wi-Fi plug. Turn on the studio lights.
Okay.
Like that, which look quite nice. But the left-hand one, the on-air one, has the ability to change to a green sort of standby one, depending on how these connections are shorted to ground. You basically have +6 volts on pin 2 and ground on pin 3, and then you either short pin 1 or pin 4 to ground to give you a red or green light. I thought it'd be nice to just have them cycle between red and green, because that looks quite nice. So I've just run a temporary cable down here to my breadboard just to figure a few things out. So here, if I short the correct pin to ground, I can have the red light. And if I short the other pin to ground, I can have the green light. Okay, so as a proof of concept, we've got the incoming 6 volts here, ground on the right, positive on the left, and then the blue and white wire here, they go off up here into the light. And then we've got the red and green wire. So if I short the red wire to ground, you get the red sign. And if I short the green wire to ground, you get the green sign. So I thought it might be nice to maybe get a little Arduino just to constantly swap between the red and the green, shorting them to ground. And we can do that through a couple of transistors. Right, I've taken the power that's coming in. It's also going back to the lamp there. And then I've just extended it onto the breadboard so that we can experiment and make sure we get things right here. I've also extended the red and green wires here, which are the ones we need to short to ground. So I'm going to take a 2N2222, which is an NPN transistor. Pop that in there. And then we'll use the red one just for the sake of it. We attach that to the collector. So we want to short this to ground. So it comes in here. And then the emitter will go to ground. And then I'm just going to run a resistor for the base, so we don't run too much current through the transistor. Then if I take some positive voltage and apply it to the base, that will turn the transistor on, and then the red lead here goes through the transistor and shorts to ground. Now you have to take it from me that the red light is indeed on. Let's zoom you out, I'll show you that. As I apply voltage to the base, the transistor turns on and allows this red lead to short to ground. Now what we'll do is I'll just add another one here for the green one, just to make sure they both work. Give me a second to do that. Here we go. So exactly the same setup over here, just with the green wire coming in instead. So if I apply power here, that lets the red one go to ground, and if I apply power here, that lets the green one go to ground. So my idea is we just pop a little Arduino on the board and we get it just to energize one pin, then the other pin, and so on, backwards and forwards. And that can do the job that I'm doing here for me. Let's get that wired up. Got a little ESP8266 NodeMCU. I'll pop that in. Then I'll need a 5-volt power regulator, because this is 6 volts coming in and that needs 5. So I'll just pop this down here. Then we'll need positive voltage, ground, then we can run, let's do it with orange so we can see what we're doing, voltage in from this end, ground here. Yep, we've got power. Okay. Just take that out for now. So what I'm going to do is just use 2 pins here. I'll just use D1 and D2. These will be the output pins to drive the red and green transistors. Okay, so we'll have D1 as the red one, and we'll have D2 as the green one. Then I've just got to write a bit of code that literally just pulls pin D1 high, so that'll let the red transistor switch on, and make sure the green one is low or off, and then swap over. Turn off the red one, turn on the green one. Let's write that. So here's my basic piece of code. I'm just naming the pins. It's easier than remembering what pin numbers are what. So we've got a red pin, a green pin. I'm also just going to use the internal LEDs on the board, just so that I know the board's doing what I think it's doing. And I'm just setting a basic delay time between the color changes at 2 seconds. It'll probably be longer than that when we do it for real. So then we set all the pins as outputs, and we'll just start off by making sure that the red and green pins are off, and that the onboard LEDs are also off, but you pull them high to turn them off. And then the loop is simply turning on the red light, turn on the internal red LED, wait for however long the wait time is, then turn off the red light and turn off the internal LED. I'm just going to add a tiny delay there so both lights don't come on at the same time. Then I'll turn on the green one and turn on the internal blue LED. Then we'll wait the wait time, 2 seconds, and then turn them both off. Tiny delay to make sure they're not on at the same time, and then do it all again and just keep repeating that. Okay, let's upload that and see what happens. Right, I've uploaded the code into the Arduino. I'm just going to disconnect these for a second to check it's working fine. So we'll just power it up. Yep, that seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. I just used the internal LEDs so that I could check it's cycling properly. So we'll plug in these, and I'll show you what's happening. So there you can see it's changing it quite nicely from red to green. So I will change the delay to probably about a minute, I'd say, between each one, just so it stays there for a decent amount of time. And then I'm going to have to build some kind of board with all the circuitry on, quite small, but I'll hide it away in this light here, and then just bring this wire across and hide it in here somewhere. Right, I've got this onto a circuit board. I've got power coming in here through a power regulator, just a voltage in and ground. Ground going across to the emitter of the transistor here. It's also connected on a track underneath to this one, so it grounds both of those. And then we've got the 2 pins D1 and D2 here. Can you see that there? Coming through a resistor. This one's just coupled underneath to the 2 transistors. And then the red and green wire go off to the respective parts on the light. Let's see if it works. Right, we've got this nicely bodged connector here, just to get power in and out. See if it works. Let's see what happens. Let's turn the studio lights on.
Okay.
There we go. Right, the next thing we've got to do is work out some way to hide the whole thing in here. After a couple of different ideas, I finally came up with this simple block design. There's a small recess that the end of the circuit board will locate into, and a couple of screw holes to attach the board. The base will simply be superglued to the back of the lamp housing. So, here's the thing printed. It's come out quite nice. That's going to get stuck to the back of the lamp housing, and then the circuit board will just fit nicely in there. There you go. It fits quite nicely, nice and flush. And I've just given it a wider base just to give it a bit of purchase on the back where it's going to get stuck. Right, let's stick that in place. Okay, wiring's in place. Let's put the cover back on. Let's see what happens. Turn the studio lights on.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Very pleased with that. So I think I'll just change the timing to maybe 10 minutes between each color change. And I've left the Arduino in here so that I can get to the USB port. I can just change that quite easily. There we go. Very pleased.